The sky above New Terra had turned orange again. Captain Alan Wright stood at the window of the colony's main control tower and watched dust clouds roll across the plains. The strong winds had come earlier than expected this season. Just one more thing to worry about. "Captain, you should see this," said Olivia Morgan from her desk. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen as she pulled up a transmission. Alan walked over. His boots made heavy sounds on the metal floor. He was tired. Everyone in the colony was tired these days. "More Kelvari messages?" he asked. Olivia nodded. She was young for her position as lead communications officer, only 28, but she was the best they had. "They don't know I can intercept these. They're talking about us again." The screen showed two alien faces. The Kelvari had blue-gray skin and large eyes that seemed too far apart. They were talking in their own language, but Olivia had set up a translation program. "The primitives are building mud huts and calling it expansion," one Kelvari said to the other. "Let them play at being a galactic power until they grow bored and retreat to their homeworld." Alan's jaw tightened. He had heard worse in the last few months, but the insults still stung. "Send this to my tablet," he said. "I'll add it to the file." The file was getting big. 3 years of Kelvari insults, threats, and power shows. 3 years of trying to make New Terra work despite everything. New Terra was supposed to be humanity's big step into the galaxy. Earth's first real colony beyond the solar system. 5,000 people had come here to start new lives. Scientists, engineers, doctors, farmers, all of them believers in humanity's future among the stars. No one had expected the Kelvari to care so much. Their civilization was old and spread across many star systems. Humans were newcomers to space travel. But the Kelvari had noticed New Terra right away. At first, they just watched. Then came the trade blocks. No alien ships would trade with the human colony. Then came border patrols, threatening messages, and finally warships in orbit. Alan left the control room and took the elevator down to the ground floor. He needed to walk and think. The hallways were busy with colonists going about their daily work. They all looked tired but determined. No one talked about going home anymore. Outside, the wind wasn't too strong yet. The colony was a collection of white buildings arranged in circles. Some were homes, others were labs, workshops, or greenhouses. In the center stood the tallest building, the hub, where most important work happened. Around everything was a clear dome that kept the worst of the dust storms out while letting sunlight in. "Captain Wright," called a voice. Alan turned to see Dr. Kate Harrison walking toward him. She was the colony's lead scientist, in charge of the physics team. Her red hair was tied back, and she wore the standard colony uniform with a white lab coat over it. "Doctor," Alan said with a small smile. "How's the research going?" Kate looked around to make sure no one was close enough to hear. "I need to show you something. In private." They walked to the science building. Few people were in the hallways at this time. Kate used her keycard to open a door marked "Authorized. Personnel only." Inside was a small lab with equipment Alan didn't recognize. "We've been working on this for months," Kate said, pointing to a device on the table. It looked simple, like a metal box with a few lights and a screen. "It's ready now." "What is it?" Alan asked. "Our way to contact Earth without the Kelvari." Knowing. Alan stared at the device. The regular communication system had been damaged by the Kelvari a month ago. They wanted to cut New Terra off from Earth. The colonists had been working on repairs, but progress was slow. "How does it work?" he asked. "It's quantum tachyon resonance," Kate said. "We've been developing it on Earth for years, but never had a reason to use it. Until now." She touched the device and it lit up with a soft blue glow. "It can send a message instantly across any distance. The Kelvari can't detect it because it doesn't use normal space to travel." Alan felt hope for the first time in weeks. "Can we send a message now?" Kate nodded. "What do you want to say?" Alan thought for a moment. "We need to tell Earth everything. Send them our scans of the Kelvari ships. Send them recordings of the threats. Let them know what's happening here." "Do you want to ask for evacuation?" Kate asked quietly. "No," Alan said firmly. "We're not leaving. This is our world now. We need to ask for something else. Before Kate could ask what he meant, the door opened. Lieutenant Danny Reyes stepped in. He was head of security, a former soldier with a serious face and alert eyes. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, "but we have a problem. Kelvari ships are landing outside the dome. They're asking to speak with you, Captain." Alan looked at Kate. "How long will it take to send the message?" 10 minutes to prepare it. Seconds to send." "Do it," Alan said. "Send everything we have. I'll keep the Kelvari busy." Outside, 3 Kelvari ships had landed in the red dirt. They were smooth and curved, unlike the blocky human ships. 6 Kelvari stood in front of them, wearing what looked like battle armor. Their leader was taller than the others, with markings on his blue skin that showed high rank. Alan walked out to meet them, with Danny and 2 security officers beside him. The dust swirled around their feet. "Captain Alan Wright, the Kelvari," leader said in perfect English. "I am Commander Zexteral of the Kelvari Confederacy." "What can I do for you, Commander?" Alan asked calmly. "The time for games is over," Zexteral said. "Your colony is in violation of Kelvari space. You have 1 standard galactic cycle to evacuate this planet. If you refuse, we will take corrective measures." A galactic cycle was about 3 Earth weeks. Not much time to pack up an entire colony. "This is sovereign human territory," Alan said. "We have the right to be here." Zexteral made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Rights? You are newcomers. Children playing with technology you barely understand. The Confederacy has ruled these stars for 10,000 years. Your rights are what we decide they are." The wind picked up, blowing dust between them. In the distance, the dome of New Terra gleamed in the orange light. 5,000 lives inside. 5,000 humans who had come to find a new home among the stars. "I'll discuss this with my people," Alan said finally. "Discuss all you wish," Zexteral replied. "But in 3 weeks, you will be gone from this world. One way or another." The Kelvari turned and walked back to their ships. Alan watched them go, his face giving away nothing of what he felt inside. Back in Kate's lab, the quantum device was humming softly. "Is it ready?" Alan asked. Kate nodded. "Message prepared. It has everything, the scans, the recordings, the situation report." "Add one more thing," Alan said. His voice was quiet but firm. "Tell them we don't need rescue. We need reinforcement. Tell them to send everything they have." Kate looked at him with wide eyes. "Everything? But Earth has more." "Than the Kelvari think," Alan cut in. "They've been watching us for years thinking we're weak. It's time they learned how wrong they are." The quantum device pulsed once with bright blue light. The message was sent. Now all they could do was wait, and hope that Earth would answer before the Kelvari deadline arrived. The next 7 days passed slowly for the people of New Terra. Captain Alan Wright called a meeting with all department heads to explain the situation. They gathered in the hub's main conference room, their faces showing a mix of worry and anger. 3 weeks, Alan said. "That's what the Kelvari gave us before they take corrective measures." "What does that even mean?" asked Sam Miller, head of agriculture. He was an older man with sun-weathered skin and strong hands. "They'll force us to leave? Attack us?" "Both, most likely," Alan said. "They want us gone, one way or another." Dr. Kate Harrison sat quietly at the end of the table. Only she, Alan, and Lieutenant Danny Reyes knew about the quantum message sent to Earth. They had agreed to keep it secret for now. Hope could be dangerous if it turned out to be false. "We need to make it look like we're preparing to leave," Alan continued. "Load the transport ships, pack up equipment, but nothing actually leaves the planet." "You want us to pretend?" asked Maria Diaz, the colony's chief medical officer. "Yes," Alan said firmly. "The Kelvari will be watching. They need to think we're following their orders." Danny Reyes stood up. "Meanwhile, my security teams will be preparing defenses. We don't have much, but we can modify some mining equipment into something useful." The meeting lasted 2 hours. By the end, everyone had their tasks. They would play for time and hope Earth responded to their call. Outside the colony dome, Kelvari, ships now patrolled regularly. They would land sometimes, and observers would watch the humans work. The Kelvari seemed pleased to see the colony packing up. "They're so sure of themselves," Olivia told Alan, as they watched a Kelvari ship land. "From the control tower, they really think we'll just give up and go home." "That's their weakness," Alan replied. "They've never really understood humans." On the fourth day, a small group of colonists approached the Kelvari observers. They had not been told to do this. It was their own idea. "Please," one woman begged. "My family has nowhere to go back on Earth. Can't some of us stay?" The Kelvari seemed amused by this. They recorded everything and sent it back to their ships. Other colonists staged arguments in front of the aliens. "This is Earth's fault." One man shouted, "They sent us here and now they've abandoned us." "No, it's the colony leadership," another yelled back. "They should have negotiated better." Alan watched it all from a distance. The colonists were smart. They were showing the Kelvari exactly what the aliens expected to see: emotional, divided humans who would give up when faced with real power. Underground, things were different. Dr. Harrison's science team worked in shifts, setting up a network of small devices around the edge of the colony's territory. They called them sensor buoys, but they were more than that. Each one can amplify and redirect the quantum signal, Kate explained to Alan in her lab. "When the response comes from Earth, the network will help us receive it clearly." "If a response comes," Alan said quietly. Kate looked at him. "You don't think they will answer?" Alan sighed. "I think they will, but I'm worried about what the answer will be." By the end of the first week, the colony looked like it was halfway packed up. Transport ships sat ready on the landing pads. Boxes and crates lined the main plaza. But underground, in secret meetings and hidden labs, the real work continued. On the 8th day, Commander Zexatarl requested a meeting with Alan. They met outside the colony dome in the shadow of a Kelvari ship. "Your progress is acceptable," the Kelvari said, looking over the colony. "Perhaps you humans are not as stubborn as I thought." "We know when we're outmatched," Alan said, forcing humility into his voice. "A wise realization," Zexatarl said. His large eyes blinked slowly. "Tell me, Captain Wright, what will you do when you return to Earth? Will you attempt another colony?" The question surprised Alan. "I don't know," he said honestly. "That will be for Earth's leaders to decide." Zexatarl made the strange sound that passed for a Kelvari laugh. "Your species should focus on your home planet. The stars are not for everyone." Alan wanted to argue, to defend humanity's right to explore and expand. But he held his tongue. Let the Kelvari think they had won. That night, as he walked back to his quarters, Lieutenant Reyes joined him. "My team finished converting the mining lasers," Danny said in a low voice. "They won't do much against Kelvari ships, but they might buy us some time if needed." "Good work," Alan said. "How are the people holding up?" "They're scared," Danny admitted. "But they're also angry. No one wants to leave. This is home now." Alan nodded. New Terra had been his home for 4 years. He had been among the first to arrive, helping to set up the colony before the main group came. He had watched as the empty plains became a living, working community. The thought of losing it all made his chest tight. In her lab, Kate Harrison couldn't sleep. She checked the quantum device every few hours, looking for any sign of a response from Earth. Nothing yet. The waiting was the hardest part. On the 10th day, one of the sensor buoys at the edge of the colony territory activated. Kate was alone in the lab when it happened. The quantum device hummed to life, its blue glow brightening as it received a signal. She stared at the screen, her heart beating fast. A message was coming through. It was short, just 3 words, but they changed everything. Kate ran through the hallways, not caring who saw her. She found Alan in a meeting with colony engineers, discussing which systems to shut down first. "Captain," she said, breathing hard, "I need to speak with you. Now." They went to a small side room. Kate closed the door and took out a tablet. "It came," she whispered. "A response from Earth." Alan took the tablet with slightly shaking hands. On the screen were 3 simple words: We are coming. When he looked up, Kate was smiling for the first time in weeks. They're coming, Alan. She said. Earth answered. Did they say when? How many ships? Kate shook her head. Just those 3 words. But it's enough, isn't it? Alan felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Real hope. Not just determined resistance. Find Danny, he said. Meet me in the secure room in 30 minutes. We need to plan our next move carefully. As he walked back to his office, Alan looked up at the orange sky where Kelvari ships patrolled. They thought they had won. They thought humanity would just fold and go home. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The secure room was deep underground, below the main science building. Only a few people knew it existed. Captain Alan Wright sat at a small metal table with Dr. Kate Harrison and Lieutenant Danny Reyes. On the table was Kate's tablet, showing the 3-word message from Earth. We are coming, Alan read aloud. No details about when or how many ships. Should we tell the colonists? Danny asked. It would boost their spirits. Alan shook his head. Not yet. If word gets out, someone might slip up in front of the Kelvari. We need to keep playing our part for now. Kate's fingers moved across her tablet. I've been thinking about what "we are coming" really means. Earth doesn't have that many ships, at least not that the Kelvari know about. What are you saying? Danny asked. I'm saying maybe Earth has been holding back, Kate replied. What if they have more ships than anyone knows? Alan considered this. The Kelvari think they know everything about us. What if they're wrong? The 3 of them spent hours planning their next steps. They needed to keep the Kelvari believing the evacuation was real, while preparing for whatever help Earth was sending. The sensor boys will give us early warning when Earth ships arrive, Kate explained. But we should set up more of them. Spread wider around the system. How will we do that without the Kelvari noticing? Danny asked. Kate smiled. We'll hide them in the evacuation prep. The Kelvari think we're getting ready to leave. We can send out scout ships to check the evacuation route. Those ships can place the buoys. Good, Alan said. Danny, your security team should keep converting equipment into defenses. Hide them inside evacuation machinery if possible. Danny nodded. I've got some ideas about that. The next day, Alan met with Commander Zextarl again. The Kelvari seemed pleased with the colony's progress. Your transport ships are being prepared. Good, Zextarl said. I see you are being reasonable. We would like permission to send scout ships along the evacuation route, Alan said, keeping his voice neutral. To check for hazards. The Kelvari commander considered this. Very well, but they must stay within this star system, and they will be watched. Of course, Alan agreed. Over the next few days, 3 scout ships left New Terra. Each carried a crew of 4 and a hidden cargo of sensor buoys. The Kelvari ships followed them at a distance but did not interfere as the human ships stopped at various points along the planned route. The crews pretended to take readings and check for space debris. In reality, they were placing Kate's buoys in a wide network through the star system. In the colony, the fake evacuation continued. People packed their belongings but secretly kept essential items hidden. Construction equipment was loaded onto transport ships, but some pieces were actually the converted weapons Danny's team had prepared. The Kelvari are buying it, Olivia told Alan as they watched from the control tower. Their communications are full of reports about how the primitive humans are following orders. Alan nodded. Let them think that. On the 14th day with Diaz, 1 week left before the Kelvari deadline, Dr. Harrison called an urgent meeting with Alan and Danny. We have a problem, she said when they met in her lab. The Kelvari are planning a farewell ceremony 2 days before the deadline. They want all colonists to gather in the main plaza. What kind of ceremony? Danny asked, immediately suspicious. They say it's a Kelvari tradition to mark the peaceful transition of a world, Kate said. But I think they want to get us all in one place. It would make it easier to control us if they decide to force the evacuation. Alan frowned. We need to stall them. Tell them we need more time to prepare. But the Kelvari insisted. Commander Zextarel himself came to the colony to announce the ceremony to Alan. "It is decided," the Kelvari said. "All humans will gather to receive the blessing of the Confederacy before departure. This is a great honor." Alan tried to argue, but Zextarel would not change his mind. The ceremony would take place in 5 days. That night, Alan couldn't sleep. He walked through the quiet colony, looking at the homes and labs and gardens that his people had built. In the distance, through the dome, he could see the lights of Kelvari ships watching them. His tablet beeped softly. A message from Kate. "Lab, now." When he arrived, Kate and Danny were already there. Kate's face was flushed with excitement. "One of the outer buoys picked up something," she said. "Look." On her screen was a grainy image from deep space, at the edge of the star system. It showed a small distortion, like a ripple in the darkness. "What am I looking at?" Alan asked. "A space-time distortion," Kate said. "The kind created by ships traveling faster than light. Something is coming." Danny leaned forward. "Earth ships?" "Has to be," Kate said. "The pattern matches human warp signatures, but it's bigger than I expected." Alan's heart beat faster. "How long until they arrive?" Kate typed some calculations. Based on their speed and position, 4 to 5 days. The three of them looked at each other. 4 to 5 days. Right around when the Kelvari ceremony was planned. "We need to be ready," Alan said. "If Earth ships arrive during the ceremony, it could get chaotic fast. Or it could be perfect timing," Danny suggested. "The Kelvari will have most of their forces on the ground for the ceremony. They'll be vulnerable." For the next 3 days, they worked in secret to prepare. Kate expanded the sensor network to track the approaching ships. Danny finalized their defensive plans. Alan made sure the colony continued to look like it was evacuating. The Kelvari increased their presence as the ceremony approached. More ships landed. More observers walked through the colony, watching the humans with their large, cold eyes. "They're bringing weapons," Olivia reported after intercepting Kelvari communications. "Hidden ones. They're planning something for the ceremony." "So are we," Alan said quietly. On the 18th day, just 2 days before the ceremony, one of Kate's outer buoys sent an urgent signal. She called Alan immediately. "They're here," she said when he answered. Alan rushed to her lab. On her screen was not one space-time distortion, but dozens, hundreds, appearing all around the outer edges of the star system. "How many?" he asked, barely able to speak. Kate's voice trembled. "I can't even count them all. Thousands, maybe." A new message appeared on the screen. It was longer this time. From Earth Fleet Command. "New Terra. This is Admiral Kelly Franklin. The first fleet is in position. The second and third fleets are arriving now. Fourth through seventh fleets will arrive within 24 hours. Hold position. We are coming." Alan stared at the message. 7 fleets? Earth only had 2 official fleets. Or so everyone thought. "Earth has been hiding its true strength," Kate whispered. "All this time?" Alan nodded slowly, a smile forming on his face. "The Kelvari thought they knew everything about humanity. They're about to learn how wrong they were." The day of the Kelvari ceremony arrived. The orange sky of New Terra seemed darker than usual, with heavy clouds gathering on the horizon. A dust storm was coming, but that was the least of Captain Alan Wright's concerns. "All colonists are to gather in the main plaza at noon," Olivia announced over the colony's speaker system. Her voice was calm and steady. Only those close to her would know how tense she really was. In the control tower, Alan watched as the Kelvari ships landed outside the dome. More than a dozen of them now sat in the red dirt. Kelvari soldiers lined up in perfect formation, their armor gleaming in the orange light. His tablet beeped. A message from Kate. "Sensor net update. Come now." Alan found Kate and Danny in the underground lab. The screen showed a view of the star system that took his breath away. Thousands of dots were moving toward New Terra, arranged in perfect formations. Earth ships, more than anyone had imagined possible. "They'll be here within hours," Kate said, her voice filled with wonder. "The first groups will reach orbit during the ceremony." The Kelvari don't know? Alan asked. Danny shook his head. They've been so focused on the colony that they haven't been watching deep space. And Kate's sensor buoys don't use technology the Kelvari can detect. Alan looked at the screens again. Do we have communications with the Earth fleet? Kate nodded. Limited. They don't want to risk the Kelvari picking up signals, but they sent basic instructions. She showed him the message. Continue as planned. When we arrive, protect your people. We will handle the rest. Alan took a deep breath. Then we go to the ceremony. We play our part one last time. At noon, the colonists gathered in the main plaza. All 5,000 of them stood in neat rows, as instructed by the Kelvari. Children held their parents' hands. Everyone wore their best clothes, as if this really was a farewell ceremony. Commander Zex Taral stood on a raised platform with 20 Kelvari soldiers behind him. Alan stood opposite him, with the colony's department heads in a line beside him. People of Earth, Zex Taral began. His voice was amplified so everyone could hear. Today marks the end of your brief time on this world. The Kelvari Confederacy recognizes your peaceful compliance with our directives. Alan glanced at his watch. The Earth ships would be arriving soon. He needed to keep the ceremony going as long as possible. Commander, Alan said when Zex Taral paused, on behalf of the colony, I would like to say a few words. The Kelvari seemed surprised but nodded his permission. Alan turned to face the colonists. 3 years ago, we came to this world with dreams of a new beginning. We built homes, labs, and gardens. We faced challenges together. This colony represents the best of humanity. Our courage, our determination, our ability to adapt. He paused, looking at the faces before him. They all knew something was happening. Word had spread, quietly that morning, not the details but enough to give them hope. Whatever happens next, Alan continued, remember that we are humans. We explore, we build, we overcome. Commander Zex Taral stepped forward, clearly uncomfortable with Alan's speech. Yes, well, now we will proceed with the... A Kelvari soldier rushed onto the platform and whispered urgently to Zex Taral. The commander's large eyes widened. What is this? He demanded, turning to Alan. Our sensors detect ships approaching, many ships. Alan kept his face neutral. What ships? All our transport vessels are here, preparing for evacuation as ordered. Another, Kelvari rushed forward with a portable screen. Zex Taral looked at it, then back at Alan. For the first time, the alien seemed uncertain. These are warships, he said. Thousands of them. Where did they come from? Before Alan could answer, the sky changed. Even through the dome, they could see it. Small points of light appeared, first dozens, then hundreds. Earth ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel directly into orbit around New Terra. A murmur ran through the crowd of colonists. Some began to cheer. Others simply stared in amazement. Commander Zex Taral turned to his soldiers. Prepare for possible conflict, contact the fleet. But Alan knew it was too late. The Kelvari had only brought a small force to this system, believing humans were no threat. Now they faced an armada. Alan's tablet lit up with a message from Admiral Awan Franklin herself. We have arrived. Keep your people safe. We are opening communications with the Kelvari now. Commander, Alan said, his voice strong and clear, I suggest you answer that call your ships are about to receive. As if on cue, Zex Taral's communicator beeped. He activated it, and a human voice filled the plaza. Kelvari vessels, this is Admiral Kelly Franklin of the Earth Defense Fleet. New Terra is under our protection. All hostile forces are ordered to stand down immediately. The colonists cheered. Some hugged each other. Others simply watched in stunned silence as more and more ships appeared in the sky above them. Zex Taral stared at Alan. This is impossible. Earth does not have this many ships. Your intelligence was wrong, Alan said simply. You watched us build one colony and thought you knew everything about humanity. You didn't bother to look deeper. The Kelvari commander's face showed a new emotion. Fear. Lieutenant Danny Reyes stepped forward with several colonists. They carried the modified mining equipment, now clearly weapons. I suggest you and your soldiers remain calm, Commander, Danny said. We don't want anyone to get hurt. In orbit, the Earthships surrounded the few Kelvari vessels that had been patrolling New Terra. The Kelvari were outnumbered hundreds to one. More messages came to Alan's tablet, reports from the Earth fleet, details that made his eyes widen. Commander, Zex Terrell, Alan said. You should know that Earthships have now secured this entire star system. More fleets are arriving as we speak. Your Confederacy might want to reconsider its position regarding human colonies. The colonists moved closer together, forming a protective circle around the children. The Kelvari soldiers, seeing they were surrounded both on the ground and in space, lowered their weapons. Zexa Terrell looked up at the sky, now filled with Earthships. How? How did you build so many without our knowledge? Alan smiled. You called us primitives. You thought we were just playing at being a galactic power. That was your mistake. Humans don't expand like other species. We don't send our best until we're sure they'll be safe. The Kelvari commander's communicator beeped again. The message was from his own leadership. The Kelvari Confederacy is requesting an immediate ceasefire and diplomatic talks, Zextaral said, his voice hollow. They wish to negotiate. The plaza erupted in cheers. Families embraced. Friends hugged. 3 years of tension and fear released in a moment of pure joy. Alan looked up at the sky, now filled with the ships of Earth's endless armada. New Terra was safe, and the galaxy had just learned an important lesson about humanity. 3 days after the Earth fleet arrived, New Terra felt like a different world. The Kelvari ships were gone from the sky. The dust storms had passed. And for the first time in years, the colonists walked with straight backs and raised heads. They were no longer alone. Admiral Kelly Franklin had landed on the first day with her command staff. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and eyes that had seen many battles. When she met Captain Alan Wright, she shook his hand firmly. Well done, Captain, she said. Your colony held strong. Now they sat together in the hub's main conference room with Dr. Kate Harrison and Lieutenant Danny Reyes. Outside the windows, Earthships filled the sky. Some were massive battle cruisers larger than anything the colony had ever seen. Others were smaller, faster vessels that patrolled in tight formations. I still can't believe how many ships came, Alan said. 7 fleets. Earth never announced having more than 2. Admiral Franklin smiled. That was the point. Ever since we started exploring beyond our solar system, Earth's leaders knew we might meet species like the Kelvari. We needed to be ready. But how did you build so many ships in secret? Kate asked. We didn't keep them all secret, the Admiral explained. Just most of them. The first 2 fleets were public knowledge. The other 5 were built in hidden shipyards throughout the solar system. Each country on Earth contributed ships, crews, and resources. Danny leaned forward. The Kelvari never noticed. They saw what we wanted them to see, Franklin said. They watched our public shipyards and counted our official fleet. They never looked deeper. The door opened, and Olivia Morgan entered with a tablet. The Kelvari diplomatic vessel has entered orbit, she reported. Supreme Counselor Draz Moral requests permission to land. Admiral Franklin nodded. Grant permission, have a security team meet them at the landing pad. The Kelvari Supreme Counselor arrived with 6 advisors but no soldiers. Alan, Franklin, and the others waited for them in the colony's meeting hall. The tall, blue-skinned aliens seemed different now, less confident, more cautious. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Drazmoral said. His voice was deeper than Zex Terral's, and he spoke without the commander's arrogance. The Confederacy wishes to establish new relations with humanity. Admiral Franklin gestured for the Kelvari to sit. We're listening. The meeting lasted for hours. The Kelvari offered trade agreements, technology exchanges, and formal recognition of New Terra as sovereign human territory. More importantly, they agreed to recognize all future human colonies in this sector of space. The Confederacy acknowledges its misjudgment of humanity's capabilities and commitment, Drazmoral said carefully. We propose peace between our peoples. When the meeting ended and the Kelvari had returned to their ship, Admiral Franklin turned to Alan. What do you think, Captain? You and your people suffered most under their containment protocols. Should we accept their offer? Alan thought for a moment. Peace is always better than war, Admiral, as long as it's peace between equals. Franklin nodded. My thoughts exactly. That evening, the colonists held a celebration in the main plaza. The dome was open to the cool, night air. Earth soldiers mingled with colonists, sharing stories and drinks. Music played and some people danced. For the first time in years, there was no fear of Kelvari ships watching from above. Alan found Kate sitting alone on a bench at the edge of the plaza. She was looking up at the stars and the Earth ships that moved between them. Not joining the party? He asked, sitting beside her. She smiled. Just taking it all in. Everything changed so fast. Your quantum device made it possible, Alan said. Without it, we couldn't have called for help. Kate shook her head. It wasn't just technology that saved us, it was people. Earth could have told us to evacuate. Instead, they sent 7 fleets. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the celebration. Children ran between the tables, playing games with small toy spaceships. Adults laughed and talked with Earth's soldiers and officers. What happens now? Kate asked finally. Admiral, Franklin says New Terra will be expanded, Alan replied. More colonists, more buildings. They're even talking about making it a regional capital for human space. And the Kelvari. They'll be watching us more carefully now, but so will other species. The news is spreading fast through the galaxy. Humans aren't the weak newcomers, everyone thought. Across the plaza, Supreme Counselor Drasmaral had returned with a small group of Kelvari officials to join the celebration. The aliens moved awkwardly among the humans, trying to understand their customs and conversation. Alan watched as Drasmaral approached Lieutenant Danny Reyes. The two talked for a few minutes before the Kelvari leader turned to Alan and Kate. Captain, right, Dr. Harrison, Drasmaral said with a small bow. May I join you? Alan gestured to the bench and the Kelvari sat carefully, his long limbs folding gracefully. There is one matter I must understand, Drasmaral said after a moment. Your fleet, its size exceeds anything in our historical records. How did your species build so many vessels without our detection? Alan considered the question. We didn't build them all at once, he explained. Earth has been expanding its defensive capabilities for decades, but more importantly, we've been united in this effort. Your entire species worked as one to protect a single colony? Drasmaral seemed unable to comprehend the concept. That's what you never understood about humans, Alan said. We argue among ourselves constantly. We're divided by politics, beliefs, and borders. But threaten one human settlement anywhere, and you'll find yourself facing all of us. The Kelvari was silent for a long time. Finally, he stood. I have much to report to the Confederacy Council. Much to reconsider. Thank you for this insight, Captain. As Drasmaral walked away, Kate leaned closer to Alan. Do you think they'll really change? Or just wait until we let our guard down? I don't know, Alan admitted. But either way, we'll be ready. The celebration continued late into the night. When most people had gone home to sleep, Alan returned to the control tower. From the window, he could see the colony spread out below. Him, peaceful under the stars. Beyond the dome, the red plains of New Terra stretched to the horizon. His tablet beeped with a message from Earth's leadership. New Terra status, secure. Expansion approved. Phase 2 begins immediately. Alan smiled. 3 years ago, they had arrived on this world with dreams of a new beginning. They had faced challenges, threats, and fear. But they had never given up. Now, as Earth ships patrolled the skies and new buildings were already being planned, Alan knew that the real work was just beginning. New Terra would become everything they had dreamed it could be. And beyond this world, other colonies would follow, protected by humanity's endless armada. The Kelvari had mocked their colony. Now they understood what it meant to face the full strength of humanity.